8 Mr. Olympia titles, a body that defied human limits, and a story that goes far beyond the stage. This is Ronnie Coleman, the man they called the King, and today we're telling his full story. From the streets of Bastrop, Louisiana, all the way to bodybuilding immortality, prepare yourself for the journey of a legend. A journey built on sweat, steel, and a mindset that refused to acknowledge the word impossible. This is how the King was crowned. Ronnie Coleman was born on May 13, 1964 in Monroe, Louisiana. He was raised by a single mother in a home where resources were thin, but discipline was absolute. He grew up in a small town where nobody expected greatness, but Ronnie wasn't built like everyone else, and I'm not just talking about his genetics. He took his natural strength to Grambling State University, where he played middle linebacker on a full football scholarship under the legendary Coach Eddie Robinson. Coach Robinson didn't just teach Ronnie how to tackle, he taught him the values of accountability and academic excellence that would define his entire life. Most people don't know that Ronnie was a scholar. He graduated cum laude with a degree in accounting, but the job market in the late 80s was brutal. To make ends meet, the future king was delivering pizzas for Domino's. He lived on the free pizza they gave the staff because it was all he could afford to eat. Then, everything changed. He saw a newspaper ad for the Arlington Police Department in Texas. No experience required. He applied, and his new life began. Ronnie became Officer Coleman. For years, his patrol car was his office. He loved the job, the badge, and the community he served. Bodybuilding wasn't even on his radar. In 1990, a fellow officer suggested he check out Metroflex Gym in Arlington. That's where he met a man named Brian Dobson, the gym's owner. Dobson looked at Ronnie, who was already a lean 175 pounds without any serious training, and he saw something nobody else did. He saw a genetic miracle. Dobson offered Ronnie a free lifetime membership on one condition. Ronnie had to let Brian train him for the upcoming Mr. Texas competition. Ronnie agreed, thinking it was just a good way to stay in shape for his police work. He had no idea he was stepping into his destiny. In his very first show, Ronnie didn't just win, he dominated, even beating his mentor, Brian Dobson. The world of bodybuilding had just been put on notice. A year later, in 1991, he won the World Amateur Championships and earned his IFBB Pro card. The hobbyist was now a professional, but the road to the top was still long. For the next several years, Ronnie was just another face in the crowd. In his first Mr. Olympia, in 1992, he finished a devastating 16th. He wasn't the king yet. The 90s belonged to Dorian Yates. His blood and guts style of training was the gold standard, and Ronnie was struggling to find his place in that shadow. But then, in 1997, Dorian retired. The throne was empty. The bodybuilding world looked at Flex Wheeler and Kevin Levrone as the heirs apparent. Nobody looked at Ronnie. That's when Ronnie teamed up with nutritionist Chad Nichols. They overhauled his diet, his supplements, and his mindset. They prepared for war. October 1998. Las Vegas. Ronnie walked onto that stage at 295 pounds of granite-like muscle. The atmosphere in the room shifted instantly. Nobody had ever seen a human being carry that much mass with that level of conditioning. Flex Wheeler was the favorite, but when Ronnie hit his first pose, it was over. When they announced his name as the new Mr. Olympia, Ronnie collapsed to the floor in tears. The man who delivered pizzas was now the best in the world. The king had been crowned, but Ronnie Coleman wasn't just planning on being a one-hit wonder. He was building a dynasty. From 1998 to 2005, the Mr. Olympia stage belonged to one man. 8 consecutive years of total, undeniable dominance. He tied Lee Haney's all-time record. Many say the 2003 version of Ronnie was the greatest physique ever seen. He stood 5 feet 11 and competed at a staggering 287 pounds of shredded muscle. His measurements were cartoonish: 24-inch arms, a 60-inch chest, 36-inch thighs. He didn't just beat his competition, he made them look like amateurs. But it wasn't just the stage that made him a legend. It was the gym. Metroflex became a temple of pain where Ronnie redefined heavy. His catchphrases echoed through the iron. "Yeah, buddy. Lightweight, baby. Ain't nothing but a peanut." He shouted them to convince himself the weight was nothing. 5 weeks before the 2003 Olympia, Ronnie put 800 pounds on his back. He squatted it for 2 reps. That footage became the most famous clip in fitness history. He followed that up with an 800-pound deadlift. He was moving weights that professional powerlifters struggled with. all while being on a calorie-restricted contest diet. And then there was the leg press, over 2,300 pounds. The machine was literally at its breaking point, but Ronnie was just getting started. But here is the most incredible part. For much of his reign, Ronnie Coleman was still a full-time police officer. He was working the night shift and training twice a day. He'd finish an overnight patrol, handle warrants and 911 calls, and then head straight to Metroflex to move 800 pounds. That's not just dedication, that's superhuman. He famously called bodybuilding his hobby and the police department his dream job. He kept that job for the health insurance and the camaraderie. He never let the fame change him. His training videos inspired an entire generation. They showed a man who was willing to outwork everyone on the planet, every single day for decades. But every dynasty has an end, and every legend pays a price. The extreme weights and the decades of giving it everything began to take their toll. In 2006, the streak was broken. A younger, hungrier Jay Cutler took the title. Ronnie finished second, his body showing the first signs of structural failure. He competed one last time in 2007, finishing fourth. The King stepped away from the stage, but the battle with his own body was just beginning. Since his retirement, Ronnie has undergone more than 13 major surgeries. His spine was shattered. Bone spurs, herniated discs, and nerve damage became his daily reality. There were moments doctors weren't sure he'd ever walk again. For a man who used to squat 800 pounds, the simple act of standing became a monumental challenge. And yet in every interview, Ronnie says the same thing. He says he has no regrets. He gave his body to the sport he loved, and he would do it all over again in a heartbeat. His only regret? He says he should have done 4 reps on that 800-pound squat instead of 2. That is the mindset of the greatest to ever do it. In 2021, Arnold Schwarzenegger presented Ronnie with the Arnold Classic Lifetime Achievement Award. The entire room stood in silence and respect for the King. Today, Ronnie remains the ultimate inspiration. He is proof that where you come from doesn't determine where you're going. Extraordinary discipline creates legends. 8 Olympia titles, a legacy that will never be forgotten, a sacrifice the sport will never stop talking about. Ronnie Coleman, the King. This is Legends of Iron. If Ronnie's story fired you up, drop a like and subscribe. We tell the stories of those who pushed beyond human limits. Let us know in the comments, who is your all-time favorite bodybuilder? We'll see you in the next one. Keep training hard. Lightweight, baby.